Hey, what's up, guitar fam and friends? Welcome to this easy song lesson where we're going to take a look at the Bob Seger tune, Against the Wind. You only need 6 chords and 1 strumming pattern, and luckily we only have 1 bar chord that we have to know in here, and that makes it qualify for an easy song. Let's go over the key of G major before we do that. The key of G major is G major, A minor, B minor, C major, D major is the 5, E minor is the 6, and F sharp diminished is the 7. And we have 6 chords in here, and we're using every chord in the key of G major except for the 7 for the F sharp diminished. So we have a G, and these are just in the order that they appear in the song. We have a B minor, only bar chord in the song. So if you need help with your bar chords, go to guitarfam.com, create your complimentary account, and you can go through the first module of the Bar Chord Masterclass, which will help you get the basics of bar chords down. But a B minor, a C major, the 4 chord, a D major, the 5 chord, E minor is the 6, and finally A minor is the 2 chord that you need. So if you can play all your open chords, the only little bottleneck might be that B minor chord that you need to get down. Okay, for this song, you can get through the entire thing with 1 strumming pattern. That's just a straight 8th note strumming pattern. I wanted to keep this as simple as possible so you can kind of concentrate on the chording hand. There's some kind of quicker changes in here, but as far as a simple strumming pattern, just straight 8th notes. I'm going to put a G chord on and play just down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, or 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. And that'll get you through the entire song. If you want to dress it up a little bit, what you can do is on the 1 and then the 3 and, hit the lower strings, like the bottom 3 strings. And then on the 2 and 4 and, hit the top 3 or 4 strings. And that'll kind of give it a little bit more shape for you for your strumming pattern. So instead of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, you have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So it goes from this to this. Another thing you can do to get a little bit more shape is accent the 2 and the 4 to help kind of pretend like you're playing a snare drum on it and just give it a little more shape as well. So 2, 4, hit the 2 and 4 a little bit harder. And that to me sounds way better than just this. But any one of those variations for that strumming pattern will work just fine. Now we need to get into the chord progressions for this song. There really are only, I guess there are 3 main parts, but really technically there are 5 parts. They're the intro, what would be the verse, the pre-chorus, the chorus, and the outro. The intro and the outro are really easy, so we'll spend most of our time on the verses, pre-choruses, and the chorus. So for the intro, you just play a G major chord for 4 measures, and this is before the singing starts or anything, just 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. One more. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now, when you get into the verse, this first verse is the exact same as the second verse and the third verse, but it's also the exact progression that you're going to play over the piano solo. So when you're looking at the chord chart for this, which is available for you on guitarfam.com, by the way, the jam track, full jam track, and the chord chart are available for you on the website. So go check that out. Links are below in the description. But this verse progression is what you want for verse 1, 2, and 3, and for the piano. So let's take a look at it. So you have G major for 2 measures. And then you go to a B minor for 2 measures. And changing from an open chord to a bar chord can be pretty challenging. That's one thing that kind of trips people up for a while. One of the best recommendations I have for you for getting through something like this is to make sure you can go to each individual chord on its own first. If you can't, put some time in with that. And if you can, just isolate the change, go from that G to that B minor, because it's a weird shift. Just spend some time doing that. I did that before I recorded the jam track for this one, just because I didn't want to have any, silly little mistakes going to that B minor chord. I want to make sure I had nailed it, so I spent some time just going from G to B minor. But anyway, you have 2 measures of B minor after that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you have a measure of C, full measure, 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to G, 1, 2, 3, 4. Measure a D, 1, 2, 3, 4. and then a measure of C. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's the first phrase of this verse progression. When you hit that D chord, make sure not to hit the low E and A strings. Like that low, especially that low E string, that'll make it sound kind of crunchy and dissonant. You don't want that. The second phrase of the verse is very similar, it just ends a little bit different. So again, start out with 2 measures of G major. Same thing, B minor for 2 measures. C for a measure. G for a measure. Here's where it changes. Go back to a C for a measure. And then go to D for 2 measures to finish. And this can throw you off a little bit. It feels like there's an extra measure of D major there, so just be sure not to jump into the pre-chorus too fast. Follow along with the chord chart. Let me play the whole verse progression for you. 1, 2, 3, 4. It feels like yesterday. D minor. Comes a C. D, C. Second phrase coming up, here you go. G for 2 measures. 1, 2, comes the B minor. 2 measures. C, G, back to C now. And to a D for 2 measures. 2, don't forget the extra measure. 1, 2, 3. Next, we have the pre-chorus, and anytime you're running up against the pre-chorus, it's going to be the same progression for all 3 of these pre-choruses. So you start with an E minor for just 2 beats, so 1 and 2, and then go to a D for 2 beats, for beats 3 and 4, that first measure of the pre-chorus, 3 and 4, and then a measure of G, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Then go to an E minor for 2 beats, 1 and 2, then a C major for the next 2 beats, 3 and 4, and then G for a measure, 1 and 2, 3, 4. So that's kind of the first phrase of the pre-chorus. Second phrase is similar, but there's some different chords. Start off with E minor for 2 beats, 1 and 2, and D for 2 beats, 3 and 4, and C for 2 full measures, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then D for 1 measure. So let me play that whole pre-chorus for you. 1, 2, 3, 4. E minor, D, G. E minor, C, G. E minor, D, C for 2 measures. 1, 2, 3. Here comes the D. If you have trouble with those faster moving chords, just isolate the chord changes. First off, make sure you can go like to that E and that D minor. Make sure you can go to those individual chords on their own with no problem. And then once you do that, just isolate the change. Don't worry about strumming through them. Just make sure you can get from one chord to the other. Put a few minutes in every day with that, and that'll clear up after a while. Once you can play the pre-chorus, let's move on to the chorus and look at the progression there. Starts off with a G major for 1 measure. That B minor change, 1, 2, 3, 4 for 1 measure, then a C for 1 measure, then back to a G for 1 measure. And then you have the kind of this walk down progression, which is the fastest string of chord changes in the whole song. You have a C major, a B minor, an A minor, and back to a C. And each one of those chord changes gets just 2 beats. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So you get this kind of scalar sound with your chords. Then after that, just play 4 measures of G major. I like to kind of look at this as going back to the intro, or you can just look at it as 4 measures of G at the end of each chorus. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, All right, once you've reached this point of the song, you've pretty much learned all the basic parts, which is great. All you have to do is go back to verse 1 and play through the entire format again. So play through the verse, the pre-chorus, and the chorus again. So it would be verse 2, pre-chorus 2, and chorus 2. And then you go back up to the verse again, but this time when you play the verse, it's going to be the piano solo. And then you do the pre-chorus again, and then you do chorus 3. The only difference between choruses 1 and 2 and chorus 3 is at the end of chorus 3, you don't play 4 measures of G major, you just play 2 measures of G major. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then he has a tag there where he restates the last line of the chorus. I'm on now, but I'm still running. And the chords there are just C for 2 beats, B minor for 2 beats, and then you go to D for 2 measures. Running against you. And that's the end of that second measure of D. And that leads you to the outro of the song, which is just 2 measures of C followed by 2 measures of G. And you just repeat that over and over again. Against the wind. 1, 2, 3, 4 to a G for 2 measures. Back to a C for 2 measures. Back to G for 2 measures. Just keep repeating that chord progression over and over again until it fades out. It's around 11 times with the fade out that you play that, but you'll hear it when the song ends. Just finish playing or fade out with it. Okay, those are the main parts of the tune. Nothing too difficult, but probably the hardest things are that bar chord and then the quick chord transitions on a certain few sections of the song. Work on those individually at first, and then isolate just the changes, and then kind of put them in the context of whatever part you're working on, the chorus, the verse, or the pre-chorus. So we already kind of went over the format or the layout of the song, but I want to do it for you in a more concise way. Here you go. So you start off with the intro, which is just 4 measures of G, and then you move on to verse 1, which is 17 bars long. Don't forget that extra bar of D at the end there. Before you go into the pre-chorus, which is just 8 bars long. And then you play the chorus. The first and second chorus are 10 bars long. So play that. And then you go back to the verse, play through the verse again, play through the pre-chorus again, and then play through chorus 2. And then you go back again to the verse, which this time is the piano solo. And then you do the pre-chorus again. That's where the scene comes back in. And then you do chorus 3. Chorus 3 is 11 bars long because you have that little tag right before the outro of the tune. So play that 11 bars for the last chorus. And then you have the outro, which is just a 4-bar phrase, 2 measures of C and 2 measures of G repeated 11 times for, I guess that's a total of 44 bars. That's a lot. All right, if you have any questions about the song, feel free to leave a comment on this page or email us directly at support@guitarfam.com, or better yet, go to guitarfam.com and create your complimentary account. We have courses there that are free that will help you to get the basics down, and you should also check out our premium courses. They do a really good job of helping you get those things that are kind of roadblocks for players too, like bar chords, strumming, or timing, getting those things down too. And don't forget, every Guitar Fam member, even if it's just a complimentary account that you have, gets one free private one-on-one lesson with me. You can book that on the site too. Let us know what other easy song lessons you'd like to see here on the channel, and we'll see you later. Bye.
Seems like yesterday, long ago. Janie was lovely, she was the queen of my nights. There in the darkness with the radio playing low wind, the secrets that we shared, mountains that we moved, going like a wildfire out of control, till there was nothing left to burn and nothing left to prove. I remember what she said to me, how she swore that it never would end. I remember how she held me oh so tight. Wish I didn't know now what I didn't know then. Against the wind, we were running against the wind. We were young and strong, we were running against the wind. slowly passed. I found myself alone, surrounded by strangers I thought were my friends. Found myself further and further from my home, and I guess I lost my way. There were also many roads. I was living to run and running to live, never worried about paying or even how much I owe. Moving 8 miles a minute for months at a time, breaking all of the rules that would bend. I began to find myself searching for shelter again and again, against the wind. Little something against the wind. I found myself seeking shelter against the wind. Now I've got so much more to think about. Deadlines and commitments, what to leave in, what to leave out. Against the wind, I'm still running against the wind. Older now, but still running against the wind. Well, I'm older now and still running against the wind, against the wind, against the wind. Still running against the wind, still running against the wind, against the wind. Still running against the wind, against the wind, against the wind. Still running against the wind, running against the wind, running against the wind, against the wind. See the young man run against the wind. Watch the young man run against the wind. Watch the young man running against the wind. He'll be running against the wind, against the wind. Let the cowboy